Hear Clinton Maroon live play-by-play this season on WHOW, the Big 1520 daytime, 92.3 FM in DeWitt County and 106.5 in Bloomington Normal all the time. Plus, streamed at DeWittDailyNews.com on the WHOW mobile app and Amazon Alexa. Plus, tune in for a Best of Clinton Sports broadcast every Saturday morning at 10. All brought to you by our title sponsor, NL Green Power's Alta Farms Wind Project, creating good-paying jobs that keep people in DeWitt County.
You're listening to The Morning Show on the Big 1520 across Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agents in Clinton. My guest on this segment of the WHOW Morning Show is Joey Long, the director of the DeWitt County Museum and C.H. Moore Homestead. Joey, a good wet morning to you. How are you today?
I'm good. It is wet, but it is a good day.
Absolutely, for sure. And I know that last time we caught up, Joey, you were looking forward to the museum reopening on April 1. So how has the first 20 days of the 2022 museum season gone to this point?
It's gone quite well. So doors open, like you said, on April 1st, and people have been coming. So we're really happy about that. I keep a guest log when people come in, and, I ask their first name and where they're from, how they heard about the museum and their reason for the visit. And so just in the last few days, we've had people not just from across the state, but also beyond. We had a couple in last weekend from Hannibal, Missouri, and yesterday I welcomed a gentleman from Lexington, Kentucky. So it's good to see that, people are out again, traveling, coming to some of these sites that, maybe had been on their list for a while, but now they've decided, we have the opportunity. We're just going to take off in the car and go explore. And I'm glad that often that includes our historic sites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And, I venture a guess, Joey, that the museum is probably a regularly attended, spot for groups within the school system, especially locally, as kids learn about local history. I know your board president, in fact, Kelby McMath, has been very proactive in promoting local history and the things that, are of significance in DeWitt County. How about some of those things? Are you seeing the younger kids starting to return to the museum this year?
We absolutely are, and it's such a nice thing to see. In fact, yesterday I welcomed 37 students from a Decatur area school, as well as their 6 chaperones and their bus driver. And it had been quite some time, since we had a large group of students take a field trip to the museum. So it was really nice to have them there and, see all those young faces. And it's always a good day when you can welcome a busload of kids to the museum.
Mm-hmm. What do you like? Do you tailor your tour of the museum differently for the kids versus, say, maybe, a couple of friends that come in the midday? They're just rolling, kind of strolling through the area, and they, maybe they see the sign for the museum and they come in and want to see what it's all about. Like, do you tailor those two experiences differently?
I absolutely do. And I probably do it much differently than most in my position, but I feel like it's important to tailor the experience to the individual who walks through the door. And people who come through the door are all different ages and also all different reasons bring them through the door. So if it's someone who's interested in Abraham Lincoln, then, I kind of tailor it towards Lincoln and his influence on DeWitt County, DeWitt County's influence on Lincoln, that connection between Mr. Moore and Lincoln. If they're more interested in architecture or the antique furnishings, then we focus on that. And it always ends up being much more like a dialogue, like a relaxed visit. People comment on that quite often. I don't feel like I just took a tour of a historic house museum, I feel like I just visited an old friend, even though I just met you today.
Mhm.
And that's important. I think it makes a meaningful experience. But then as far as doing, kid groups, for one thing, you may have as many as, 30 or 40 kids. Often Larry and I will split them in half because it's just too many, in one room of the house at one time,
Mhm.
So yesterday, we split them in half, and half went down to the big barns below, and we're touring the farm museum while the other half was in the house. And then also I tailor those according to the age of the kids. So like for the younger ones, they probably aren't that interested in C.H. Moore and his investment in land or things like this. That's
Mhm.
not interesting to a kiddo. But so something that I implemented a few years ago is, and it's fun. In each room, I take 3 things that would not belong in that house during Mr. Moore's time there. So when they come, we talk about, the 1800s and when Mr. Moore lived there and what life was like back then. And then we go from room to room to room, and the kids point out which items don't belong in the house because they're not from Mr. Moore's time. And that's always a lot of fun. Now, one thing that tickles me, I do have an old-fashioned telephone, like maybe like 1950s kind of looking telephone in the formal parlor when we do this. Well, the kids are always quick to pick out the 2 items that don't belong, but that type of telephone is ancient to a kid. So sometimes they have to have a little help in realizing that maybe that phone doesn't belong there in the formal parlor. But it's a lot of fun. It really is. And so, I always enjoy that. And then, for the older kids, then maybe again, we talk about Abraham Lincoln or whatnot. But it's always nice to have them there. And it's always nice to hear the kids' questions. I really enjoy that part.
Mhm.
So yesterday we were in Mr. Moore's library, and you would think that maybe the question that they would ask is, were these his books, or something like that. First question I had was, well, if Mr. Moore knew Abraham Lincoln, do you think that Abraham Lincoln might have sat in that chair right there? And my response was, no, I don't think that Abraham Lincoln sat in this chair, but I do have another chair in this house that we know for sure that Abraham Lincoln sat in. So I'll be sure and show you that.
Mhm.
Or another student pointed at the beaver skin hat that we have lying on the desk. And he wanted to know, what that hat was. And so, I picked it up, to show to them so they could see it more closely. And I said, have any of you learned at school about the beaver and the fur trade? Well, yes, they had, but they'd never seen an actual beaver hat, and I made the point, isn't it exciting to learn about something in your classroom or read about it in a book, but then to be able to visit a museum and actually see that item. And they
Mhm.
all agreed, yeah, that's pretty neat.
That's cool. That's really neat to hear that the kids are invested in these tours. It's not just another, something that they do at school and, they're just kind of, getting through it, that they're investing, their thoughts and their energy when they come out to your spot there, Joey.
Yeah, I just absolutely love that interaction with them. Yeah.
Joey Long is the director of the DeWitt County Museum and C.H. Moore Homestead, our guest in studio, our guest on the phone here for this morning. So, Joey, you mentioned that the museum has opened for the season. Remind us the days of operation and the hours of operation.
Sure. So the museum is open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then we're also open on Sundays from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. So a lot of opportunities to come and visit.
Very good. So check it out. Joey, what are some of the highlights of, you talked about the artifacts that the kids find exciting and those sorts of things. Is there something in the house that both, like people of all ages find fascinating? Is there, maybe younger kids find something fascinating, but, a group of adults find something else? Like, what are some of the popular things that folks are attracted to in the home?
I would say one thing that a lot of kids see and it catches their eye and they ask what it is our 1870s kaleidoscope. It is quite a curiosity, and you would look at that and think, what is that doing here? What is that? But once you explain to them what it is, and especially if you let them take a look themselves and see what that looks like when you look into that kaleidoscope, they all love it. In fact, it's one of my favorite things in the museum too. I would say that's probably what catches the kids' eyes the most. And this year I'm seeing that a lot of adults, their eye is caught by Mr. Moore's rotating bookcases. So these were actually built in Chicago. The patent date on them is, I think it's 1893, something like that. And I don't know why we don't have them today. They're kind of hard to describe, but think of a lazy Susan. They spin, but there are two layers of shelves, one on the inner part of the bookcase and one on the outer. So you can stack books on the inner bookshelf and the outer bookshelf, and then they both spin independently like a lazy Susan. So in a very small space, you can store a very large number of books. So we actually have two of them. The smaller holds 250 volumes. The larger one can hold 450 volumes. So those people ask about those a lot. And then they also ask a lot about Mr. Moore's Wooten style desk, it's an amazing piece of furniture. The desktop, if you pull the desktop out, the shelves on the sides open up and reveal all of these cubby compartments. And then when you're done working, you just shove that top back in, and the entire desk and all those cubbies, they just close up. But Mr. Moore liked gadgety things. So he has a lot of things like that would be considered gadgety things. And apparently, the people who visit the house today also appreciate these gadgety things.
That's interesting. I was right now years old when I learned that about Mr. Moore.
Yeah, he actually, along those lines, he had a microscope before most people even knew what a microscope was or had ever heard of a microscope. But his reason for having the microscope was that he realized that would help him learn about crops, learn about plant disease, learn about plant structure and insects.
Interesting stuff. Joey, hate to do this to us. I got to take a time out. How do folks learn? How do folks learn more about all things C.H. Moore Homestead, DeWitt County Museum?
They're welcome to visit our website. It's chmoorehomestead.org. They can visit any of our 3 Facebook pages: DeWitt County Museum, Apple and Fork Festival, or Prairie Flyers. They can give us a call at 217-935-6066, or now that we're open, feel free to stop by the museum anytime.
Perhaps we'll get an update on that Prairie Flyers exhibit that's coming up at opening up at the end of May. Joey Long, director of the DeWitt County Museum, C.H. Moore Homestead, is my guest on the phone. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. More to come on the WHOW Morning Show.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Wednesday. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network. Corn starting the day mixed, beans higher, and wheat starting the day mixed. May corn 806.5 up 2.5. July corn up a penny, $8.75. December corn 745.25, down 1 3/4. May beans starting the day 1729.5 up 13. July beans up 10.5, 1702.25. November beans 1523.5 up 3. May wheat 1101 up 2 pennies. July wheat up a penny 1110, and December wheat 1098.5. That's down 1.5. May bean meal 469.10. That's up 470 to start the day. May bean oil 80.31. Up a dime. Look at the opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Wednesday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
New trucks and SUVs are coming here at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. This is Scott Baum. Yes, we have new inventory arriving, and you can see what will arrive right on our website. Just click on the pre-order and reserve tab. From there, you will find vehicles in transit and vehicles in production. Or just call our sales staff and we'll help. Find Silverados, Equinoxes, Blazers, including Tahoes and Suburbans, as well as our complete Buick line of SUVs. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
Here's a supply chain update from your Clinton Save-A-Lot. Owner Dave Jackson here to let you know that despite our best efforts, many times we're seeing specific items simply disappear off of our store shelves. Our suppliers are halting production of slower items to concentrate on the higher volume products. Keeping our shelves appearing full is becoming more difficult, but you have my personal guarantee we are pulling out all of the stops to keep the freshest meat and produce and the items you buy every day stocked and on our shelves. Your Clinton Save-A-Lot appreciates your business, and we hope to see you soon.
This is The Morning Show on 92.3 FM in DeWitt County, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone is Joey Long, director of the DeWitt County Museum and C.H. Moore Homestead. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Joey, a gift shop has reopened at the museum. Highlight the gift shop and maybe some of the things that folks will find in that gift shop. How about that?
Yeah, the gift shop is open during regular museum hours. And of course, you don't have to take a tour of the house to come and shop the gift shop. And you can always feel good about shopping in the gift shop because all proceeds go to benefit the museum. So the ladies have done a nice job of restocking the shelves for this season. We always have, gift items and Apple and Pork Festival, trademark merchandise and all kinds of fun things. But this year, people will notice that we have increased our selection of books for sale. So, we have the Lincoln books. We have a fantastic book published by the David Davis Mansion about David Davis. And of course, Mr. Moore is mentioned in there. And then books on some other topics as well. But what we will find that's new in the gift shop, we have some books that were written and published by the gentleman who is actually working on our aviation exhibit, Dennis Hambucken. And then we also have another book available by Dave Hennard, who was a Vietnam era helicopter pilot who happens to be featured in our upcoming aviation exhibit. And both Mr. Hambucken and Mr. Hennard will be conducting a book signing sometime in June at the Warner Public Library. This is in conjunction with the exhibit that we're putting on. So if anyone would be interested in perhaps pre-purchasing the book to take to the book signing, or, maybe they would want to, read the book before the event so that they might have, in case they had questions or whatnot, the authors will be right there and, they can have a nice discussion during the event. Those are readily available now and people can stop by and purchase them anytime.
Yeah, I've had the chance to talk with Mr. Hennard about his testimony. I believe it was Vietnam, the war that he served in, that he was a pilot in. And I'll tell you, the stories that he has from his time in that conflict are just it's pretty phenomenal. That I'm sure the book is in much greater detail from I think I sat and talked with him for maybe 30 or 40 minutes one afternoon about his experience. So well worth the time to read his book, I think, and talk to him and come out for this. Remind us the when and where on that, Joey.
I am not certain about that. Anyone who's interested in that can check with the Warner Public Library.
Oh, okay.
So these presentations will be taking place on Thursday evenings, but put on by the library in conjunction with the aviation exhibit.
Sure. And Joey, when you purchase an item at the museum gift shop, like we were talking about, are you supporting the museum in that? Does that money go back into the museum?
It always does. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can always feel good about that. And like I said, we have a lot of things available. We have a lot of people that do come in and shop. I think the world has changed a little bit in the last few years, Seth. I think that people enjoy the experience of stepping into a smaller shop
mm-hmm.
and maybe, a big crowded store. And I think that perhaps people have a greater appreciation of supporting small business and organizations.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, Joey, a great way to support the museum is stop into the gift shop. And speaking of the museum, Joey, I know that you and I have talked very extensively over the last several months about the coming aviation exhibit. We've got a few minutes. Do you have a quick update on how that is going and some key dates to keep in mind for folks as things get ready to be unveiled with that?
Sure. The aviation exhibit will open to the public on May 28th, and it will run through July 3rd. And the committee is working on offering some Saturday events in conjunction with this that will be held at the museum. And one thing that I think is really exciting is we are actually raffling off tickets for a plane ride, a 30-minute plane ride over DeWitt County.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That is awesome.
Yeah, and those tickets are actually available now at the museum gift shop. So it's just $1 a ticket or 6 tickets for $5. And I just think, what a fantastic experience that's going to be for someone.
Yeah, who is taking that effort up?
Pardon?
Excuse me, who is taking that effort up?
That is actually a gentleman who his name is Mr. Holland, and he was generous enough to offer this experience for us to raffle off, and that, of course, will help offset the expense of putting on the aviation exhibit. So we are very grateful to Mr. Holland for that.
Very good. Yeah, definitely look forward to that. Joey, again, I'm out of time with you, unfortunately. Where do folks go for all things DeWitt County Museum? Check
out the website, DeWittCountyMuseum.org. Look for us on Facebook. Give us a call at 217-935-6066. Or, as I said before, we're open now, so feel free to stop in anytime.
Joey Long, director of the DeWitt County Museum. C.H. Moore Homestead, my guest. Network News is now.
The Big 1520 WHOW